I want to inspire you to go into your own book collection and not go online. Some of these images and artists are like old friends, like a good book should be.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you?
I'm sorry about last week's video in the sense that it got really long. Partly I didn't want to put up a video that was going to be like 50 minutes or something like that. And so, in all honesty, I didn't want to edit the whole thing last week. But I will share the last part, which is the inspirations that I was looking through in order to stay loose. Because last week's video, if you didn't see it, was all about how to get loose and stay loose in our practice. And why that's important as well. Well, I haven't read all the comments yet, but there was a really important one that I came across from a lady that was talking about that she works quite tightly in her work. And I think I'm not talking about precision artwork. I'm talking about when we get tight, you know, like in our bodies tight, and then our work feels all stressed. It's not really about sort of just slopping paint everywhere. A kind of looseness happens naturally in our work, you know, whether we work small or whether we work bigger. So I wasn't talking about sort of sloppiness, if you know what I mean, in the sense of tight or loose. It was more about feeling relaxed and in our joy and coming from a much looser space in our body and looser brush strokes, feeling freer to express ourselves in our artwork rather than feeling fearful about putting something down that isn't going to be a masterpiece. So I wasn't trying to criticize anybody that works smaller or with more precision, perhaps more illustrative type of thing by any means. It was more about the other thing. So that was the intention of that video. So that hopefully answers that little question. And a big part of the focus of last week's video as well was about warming up. So we can get loose and free and wild and slop paint about and things if we want to, but we each have a personal, unique level of becoming freer and looser in our work. So if you work really small, then being loose and free might mean something like a 6x6 inch kind of painting. I think as well as that, you know, trying different things, trying to work bigger than you would normally do with utensils and materials that you wouldn't normally use, and pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones, it helps us grow as artists and it helps us gain confidence, doesn't it? So that was my intention of that video anyway. Anyway, here's the inspiration for looseness that I have in the studio and some of the things that I was dipping into. So let's go and get cozy over there, and we're time traveling now because this was last week. Or over there, I've been sat. So I'm going to take you over there and let's sit on the floor and I'll show you some of the artists and some of the books that I have in the studio. I want to inspire you to go into your own book collection and not go online, because I bet you've got some lovely inspiration already in your possession that you could use and dip into and remind yourself. Because as I was dipping through these books this morning, I'd forgotten half of the things I had in there, and it's almost a comfort, a reminder of the things that you were inspired by early on in your creative journey. Some of these images and artists are like old friends, like a good book should be. So cozy in here. I don't know if you can actually see how much it's raining, but it's absolutely pouring. Oh my goodness, it's so cozy in here when it rains. I absolutely love it. Change of the seasons is afoot. Cozy times for us in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. Okay, let's get even cozier. Get yourself a cozy drink and a cushion and get comfy. I hope you don't mind sitting on the floor with me, but I really like sitting on the floor. And sometimes I like to put my yoga mat out and create on the floor in here. And that's what I've been doing this week. And it reminds me of when I was traveling in the van. We travelled in the van long-term, full-time, no home base. There's some videos back there somewhere about that. That was my studio, my yoga mat. So you don't have to have a big space to create loosely. That's the other thing. You can actually create small art in a loose fashion. So don't restrict yourself. It really is about staying mentally loose, isn't it? And getting rid of all those barriers that are just obstacles that want to get in the way. And they're not even real obstacles, they're obstacles that we just put in the way of our own selves. Self-sabotage type of situation, isn't it? Anyway, the inspiration part. So right at the beginning of the video, I mentioned it's a really important part of the process for me. I talk about this all the time when I'm talking about any strategy for anything. In creativity, we have to be inspired. We have to get our juices flowing. We have to want to do it. Otherwise, we would be doing something else, basically, wouldn't we? So things that get me inspired are lots of books. I've got piles of books around me in this lovely nook that I've got going on. So if you've seen the videos of creating this lovely cozy space a few weeks ago, you might have seen me create all this. But the books I've pulled out are the ones that are meaningful for me. So I bet you've got some books that you haven't looked at in ages, in years probably, and they're gathering dust somewhere. They are full of memories and original inspirations, if you like, that can just spark joy just like that in an immediate way. And that's what we want. We want to get into it quickly so that we can start loose in our playtime, in our warming up sessions when we first of all get into our creative space. One of the books I've pulled out with, it's a bit sorry because actually the cover has fallen off, and yeah, it was bought for me by my mum probably when I was about 10 years old, I would say, and it's full of gorgeous, cute, pretty little girls, illustrations by Kate Greenaway. And I used to spend hours and hours with this book, working my way through it, copying the drawings, being fascinated by the drawings, fascinated indeed by her as well. It was Kate Greenaway in 1880, and this was my most favourite drawing at the time, a pencil sketch, and I thought, wow, you know, how did she do that? All those tonal values in there. But the ones I want to point out for you today are the loose little sketches that she used to write on letters. So included in the book are things like, can I get in on that all right? Things like this that she actually used to doodle on letters to people. A little painting there that she sent as a Christmas greeting. Really cute. But there's some little loose drawings. That was for a book plate. Some more little loose studies, really cute. And those were the ones that I used to try and draw because they looked really simple, and of course when I tried to draw them they weren't. They were much more complicated than they looked when I actually figured that out. So that's one of my really early influences. Another one of my favourite artists is Toulouse-Lautrec, and I picked up this book when I was in Paris. I've been to Paris lots and lots of times. It was a huge influence on my art career, if you like, and I absolutely fell in love with so much of Toulouse-Lautrec's work. In fact, you can see the drawing I sketched, I showed you in my loose sketchbook. That was the drawing I used from this book. But the ones I wanted to draw attention to in this video are some of his really loose paintings, and these have inspired me. Hope you're not getting too much glare from the light. I've had to put the light on because it's so dark in here because of the rain. But you can see all the brush strokes and the looseness and the gesture, and I just absolutely love him. I really do, and I think those are some of my favourite paintings where you can really see all the brush marks and the really sort of wild and free kind of creativity that went on, and there's even some little sketches in here as well. So love that book, and that's something I can just flick through, and there's always something to spark my inspiration in here. Someone else I really love is Renoir, and you might not consider Renoir a loose painter, so you might think about some of the works like, for example, something like that, but there's a beautiful loose piece in here called Place Clichy, 1880, 65 by 54 centimetres, so quite a large piece. And there's a detail on this side. I'll show you the painting first, and then this detail where you can see, you know, how loose he painted that, really painterly. you know, painterly so that you can see the brush strokes and imagine the gesture that went on with the actual painting of the piece. You know, this is when you get the unexpected results that happen, and surprises and happy accidents, and then you can learn from those, and then that informs future work. So it's really, really useful practice. But I love that painting, so I thought I'd pull that one out as well. Something else I like to dip into is children's books. So for example, this one is gorgeous. It's I used to collect children's books when I was a teacher, so I had loads and loads of these, and unfortunately I let go of all my book collection. I'm just sort of gathering a few books back again from second-hand and thrift shops. You may have seen that a few videos ago as well, because I took you with me. And it's only now, after years and years of van life, that I've actually slowly but surely started building up my book collection again. But this is one that I had for years, from way back, and it's just a really inspiring, cute way to illustrate with kind of like paper puppets. It's really, really cute. See if I can find my favourite page. And these are really fun, so you know, you can actually do little sketches from here, choose your favourite authors and have a ball basically. This loosens me up because I don't get precious about, you know, figure drawing and things like that. So it frees me up to express myself, to grab, you know, a load of figures in the page and do stuff in there. I really like that page as well. The kitchen and everything's set up like a doll's house, and it's just really, really creative. So that gets my juices flowing for definite. What else have I pulled out for you? Sometimes I practice patterns. So I've got some henna books. I used to do a bit of henna tattooing. I haven't done it for ages, but the patterns in here are really fun to copy for doodles. And then you can practice in henna if you want to as well, so that's really fun. That's something that I haven't done in ages, which I'd like to try again. And then I've pulled out four postcards. This is an exhibition I went to see, and this is a painting by Whistler. What painting is this? It's called Arrangement in Pink, Red and Purple, and it was painted in 1883. Oil on panel, 30.5 by 22.8 centimetres. So it's not an enormous painting. And I actually saw this in an exhibition, and yeah, I was really moved by the whole exhibition. But see all the loose brush strokes in there and how beautiful that painting is. Limited palette, love it. Alberto Giacometti, really simple drawing. So he did a lot of sculptures I absolutely love. I saw loads of them in Paris, I think at the Pompidou Centre, maybe at the Musée d'Orsay as well. And then another really loose, Toulouse-Lautrec, I love that one. And then this painting I've saved till last because it was a really early influence of me visiting a gallery, and it was the local art gallery, and it was one of the paintings. It's only about this big, and it was an oil painting, and it was one of the paintings that was resident in the gallery, so it never changed with the exhibitions coming and going. It stayed put, if you like. And so I used to go and see this painting every time I went into town, which was pretty much every weekend when I was a teenager, early teens and growing up. And it was this painting. And it's called The Two Sisters, and it's by a Scottish artist called Bessie McNichol. I was kind of best friends with my own sister, so it was nice to have a painting called The Two Sisters. This painting really kind of spoke to me because of that. And then I loved the colours, and also, you can't really see it in here, but the textures are incredible. It's such a tactile painting, I always wanted to touch it. And yeah, many an hour sat with this painting, you know, connecting to each and every loose brush stroke and all the layers that went into making it. And it had a real emotive energy in there. So yeah, seeing that every week would move me. It would touch my heart emotionally, sometimes even to the point of tears. So it was a really, really special painting. And I found that in my art journaling nook as I was sorting everything out. And it's something I definitely want to have on the wall and maybe be able to get hold of a larger print of it as well. I did actually do my own version when I was on my A-level of this painting. Anyway, those are some of the things that I look at when I want to get loose and I want to get inspired. And there's loads of other books that I'd like to kind of get my hands on, if you like. I've got a few others over there. One of the major creative influences of my young life as well was an artist called Sark, S-A-R-K. So if you've heard of any of her books, they're really creative, and she does them all in colours and it's really fun. So that can help me get loose. And I get inspired to set myself exercises and little projects just from looking through some of these. And I think, you know, if we can add those to our list, have a constant addition to our list that we've got going on in the studio, we're never going to feel tight. We've always got something to fall back to when we want to loosen up again, and also when we don't know what to paint or draw. No excuses now. And I guess the bottom line of it all is that we make it as easy as possible for ourselves to be inspired, to not have to think, to just start creating. And if you still can't create, then I really suggest you watching the video called How to Start Anything in 13 Easy Steps. Even though it's actually 12 steps because I missed one, but it is in the description. I'm inspired now to go and have a little bit of a play and a painting and a loosening up session. So I thought I would keep it really simple today and grab my sketchbook and a pencil, and it's a mechanical pencil, so it even has its eraser on the end. And of course I'm going to practice what I preach and do some drawing warm-ups before I start. And if you want to see all of my drawing warm-ups, you can check out this video here. I'll link it up there somewhere, because it shows the whole process of me warming up ready for a sketching or drawing session. And staying loose is the intention of my drawing session, so I'm going to try and take on board all the little steps that I've been sharing with you the last couple of videos. So I felt really inspired by my Kate Greenaway treasury, and that is an anthology of the illustrations and writings of Kate Greenaway, edited and selected by Edward Ernest, assisted by Patricia Tracy Lowe, published by Collins. And this book, as I said earlier, I've had since I was a little girl. Kate Greenaway was born at 1 Cavendish Street, London, on the 17th day of March in 1846. She was the daughter of Elizabeth Jones and John Greenaway, a prominent wood engraver and draftsman. The elder Greenaways saw to it that their children had opportunity to develop their natural gifts, and it must have been a great satisfaction to John Greenaway, a highly respected artist and engraver, that one child should demonstrate a talent for drawing. Her artistic education began early, and from the age of 12 she won awards and prizes. Her greatest good fortune was, however, to be recognised by the colour printer Edmund Evans, who had been responsible for enlisting Walter Crane and Randolph Caldecott in the creating of picture books for children. From a greeting card artist, she became a book illustrator, an artist of childhood for children. Quaint though her children are, charmingly dressed in a costume of many years before her own birth, they are truly children, alive, moving, their faces solemn, with the natural intentness of young children at play. And in her own words, I suppose my imaginary life made me one long, continuous, joy-filled everything, with a strange wonder and beauty. Living in that childish wonder is a most beautiful feeling. I can so well remember it. There was always something more, behind and beyond everything. To me, the golden spectacles were very big. If you're anything like me, you'll really enjoy finding out about some of the artists that you're studying. And I love stepping back in time and trying to fit into their shoes, if you like, and see things as they were back then. How reassuring as well to read that she also went through those days of real insecurity and uncertainness, you know, just like we all do, because we all do, don't we? On a letter to Ruskin on October 21st, 1896, she writes, "I despair over grass. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what blue to use or what yellow. I'm so longing to try a more body colour. It's a curious thing everybody runs down, yet all the great watercolour people, the modern ones, have used it. W. Hunt, Walker, Pinwell, Rossetti, Burne-Jones and Herkimer." I mean, there was no social media, obviously, when she was alive, but it's kind of interesting to read the next part as well, because she's talking about, you know, as things come in and out of fashion, and yeah, we're seeing that at a really fast pace these days with the cancel culture and just people seeing so much, say, for example, feed on their Instagram. It's this full-on, rapidly paced inspiration scroll. And we have this endless opportunity, don't we? This constant feast for our eyeballs. And in another letter dated April 22nd, 1897, she writes, "I'm very fond of Nicholas Nickleby. No one has liked Dickens for so long, but I think I begin to see a little turn coming now. Of course, in time, it would be sure to come, but it is a certain fate for everyone after a time. And then another thing sets in, and they take over the rank forever." You know, Kate Greenaway didn't like the way that children of her day dressed, so she dressed them in old clothes that were old-fashioned, and that became a really popular fashion for all of England and definitely into Europe as well. She was very popular in countries like France and Germany as well. Anyway, and as I'm making these little sketches and going down memory lane myself, because obviously my own mum bought me this book years ago when I was a little girl, I'm really seeing a very familiar drawing style. In fact, these look really like my mum's little sketches, and it's really special that she bought me this book years and years ago when I was a little girl. And so yeah, I am definitely seeing similarities and mirroring my mum's style. So biggest thanks to my mum, who has inspired me more than anyone else on my artistic journey, and indeed always encouraged me when I was a little girl doing little drawings and little studies as well. So I was very blessed to be supported in that way. The other artist in my family was my elder brother, who's a very talented artist, and unfortunately he's not with us anymore, but I always remember some words he gave me. Some very wise and helpful artistic advice that stayed with me and helped me along my own process. And that was, draw what you see, not what you think you see. And again, that rings true for the essay that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is Matisse's essay called Through the Eyes of a Child, and the act of drawing a rose as if you've never ever seen a rose before and it was the first one. So, very helpful advice. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you've ever had some really useful artistic wisdom or advice to see you through some difficult patches perhaps in your own journey.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. sleep. Hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm.
Before I go, I just want to say such a big heartfelt thank you for all your encouraging comments on last week's video. It just makes me realise even more how important it is that as creatives we have community on our artistic paths. We can navigate more confidently knowing that we are not alone in our feelings of our insecurities and other unworthy thoughts that pop up from time to time. So I hope you feel inspired to pick up your creative tools, whatever they may be they pens, pencils, brushes or needles. Happy making. Try to keep your teacups full and your lights shining bright, and I will see you in the next one. Loads of love and bye for now. Mwah.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet up and we just sing along.